Hi, this is Bradley Compton, instructor for LNI Sci 120 Information Technology Ethics for the School of Information Studies at University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. This is the fall 2010 semester. Today we will do the Writing, Critical Thought, and Analysis lecture. And just a warning, I have a cold and I wanted to get this. I wanted to wait till the cold was over, but I felt like the semester is going very quickly, so I wanted to get this out while there was still time for it to be helpful. So I may have to edit out any coughing fits or spaciness from my cold medicine moments. So this lecture may seem like it's peripheral to the topics of information ethics. And I know this isn't an English or philosophical methods class, but I think this stuff is necessary for us to effectively discuss the subject. And again, this class, as with all the classes I teach, I hope that we come away with this having improved our lives in some way. Critical thought and analysis and good writing, I think, are good transferable tools to add to our repertoire. For the purposes of this class, critical thought and analysis is the only way to effectively appreciate the nuances of these topics. And I think it's equally important as the topics. I don't really see a point to give tests where you just demonstrate knowledge of, what these topics' definitions are. Just knowing the problems would be just like memorizing calculus problems and not learning how to solve them. Likewise, writing and communication in general, but writing in this class specifically, because this is an asynchronous online course, is necessary to convey your understanding of what we do here. So please don't think of this as simply a scholastic hoop to jump through. I would not emphasize this stuff if I didn't think it was essential to what this class is about. Likewise, peripherally, learning how to write correctly will help you in your personal and professional communication. And it's, again, a transferable skill to your jobs, to applying for jobs, writing cover letters, and office emails, things like that. So hopefully that's something that, since this isn't an English class, it's not my job to make sure you write perfectly, but hopefully some of these pointers stick. A lot of times I got stuff out of courses that stuck with me that had very little to do with the course content itself. But I still want you to learn information ethics. So, moving on. What will we talk about today? I will begin by defining critical thought and analysis for the purposes of this course. We'll go on to address validity and soundness, analogy and false analogy, necessary and sufficient conditions, dichotomies, false dichotomies, inclusive, exclusive, or, and then conclude with some writing pointers. So first off, critical thought and analysis. You will get comments in your grades about critical thought and analysis. I will either say you demonstrate good critical thought and analysis, or I will say your paper is lacking in critical thought and analysis. So if you don't remember anything else, please remember this. I think this is probably the most important part. This is why I begin with it. This is a really simple formula to follow. And I know it took me a long time to catch on to this as an undergraduate, but it really is just this simple. You give a statement, a thesis, a theory, an argument, a proposition, analogy, etc. Give a statement. Provide a counter argument to that statement. respond to that counter argument. Repeat this a sufficient number of times, and then conclude. Think of this as what the process that goes on in a courtroom. The attorney develops a case, anticipates counter arguments from the other attorney. They prepare responses to those counter arguments. This goes on throughout the trial. They present evidence. They inform their arguments. They conclude, make it concluding statement, and then await a verdict. And it's a similar process in your writing. So give a statement, provide a counter argument, respond to the counter argument, repeat this a sufficient number of times, conclude. Let's do this with an example. I always like to use unlicensed file downloading because that's something that's relevant to our lives, and there's a lot of room for discussion on it. So let's look at this statement. Unlicensed downloading of music is like walking into a store and stealing a CD. Let's say that's the statement I make. Unlicensed file downloading is like walking into a store and stealing a CD. This is me playing out the critical thought and analysis process. Someone might argue that this is not the case because when one steals a CD from a store, they are depriving the owner of that store capital in which the store owner invested. So not only is the store owner losing the profit from the CD that they bought, they are also losing the value that they invested in that CD. When someone downloads an unlicensed music file, they are not depriving the owner of that information of their capital. They're just making a copy of it. The owner still has the original investment. And then you would go respond to that counter argument, do this a sufficient number of times, and then conclude. So that's critical thought and analysis.